Thank you very much. Welcome again to the House Committee on General Housing. And it is still January 21, and we are now going to hear from the Land Access and Opportunity Board. Why don't we very quickly introduce ourselves to them?
Hello, it's great to see you both again. Emily Krasnow, South Burlington, 9.
Sonia Lamont, Loyal Washington District.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Burrows, and I represent Windsor 1, which is Heartland, West Windsor, and Windsor.
Hello, I'm Representative Mary Howard. I represent Rutland City District 6.
Representative Gail, 220 Colchester.
Debbie Dolgan, I represent St. Johnsbury, Kirby, and Concord.
I'm Charlton, Athens, Grafton, Chester, and Wyndham.
Joe Parsons, Orange Caledonia.
Leonora Dodge, Essex Town and part of the city of Essex Junction. Ashley Barnley, Fairfax and Georgia.
And I'm Mark Mahaly, Calais, Plainfield, and Marshfield. I'll tell you what, unfortunately, we have a hard stop at 2:30 because we have to get over to the pavilion for discrimination prevention training, which means you only have 20 minutes, which is problematic. I apologize. And so don't be a prisoner of your slides. And if you feel like you have substantively more, then we can find a way to get you back.
Thank you.
So please introduce yourselves and take it away.
Thank you so much for having us. My name for the record is Ornella Mata Figueroa, and I'm the Director of Advocacy and Community Engagement for the Land Access and Opportunity Board.
My name is Jean Hamilton, and I'm the Director of Program Development for the LEOB. And I have a couple more printouts if anyone needs one. I'll leave up there. Okay, sure. So got it.
We're here to introduce ourselves for those who may not have met us last year, and to talk about our legislative priorities this year. First, we always begin anywhere we land with this slide, which shows at a glance our value system and our touchstones. So anywhere we go, we start here. We invite folks to listen generously, to speak their truth from their heart and mind. We make the way we work together an example of what is possible, and we trust that we all hold the piece of the puzzle and that we need each other's pieces to understand the big picture.
Sorry.
We're going to start today with a little bit of a bird's eye view of who we are and where we are right now. For those who may not know, the LAOB was first established in 2022 as an independent state board to address disparities in home ownership in Vermont for people and groups that have been historically and systematically marginalized from land and home ownership. Who are these communities? These historically marginalized populations are all poor or low-income Vermonters with developmental disabilities, LGBTQIA Vermonters, immigrant people new to Vermont, and Vermonters who are people of color. Specifically, the LAOB was created to improve access and grow ideas and improve existing systems to address prevalent wealth disparities by creating new opportunities for those who are most marginalized in our communities. We believe foundationally that when those who are most marginalized do better, we all do better. These are the LAOB priority objectives. A lot of information on those slides, so I won't read it all. We are here to address historical barriers such as exclusionary zoning laws, the impacts of internalized prejudice and systemic oppression, promote opportunities to access land, home security, and welcoming communities via a catalog of state programs, grant programs, and overall trust building in the community. We also seek out to create fun and build alternative models, such as promoting innovation, talking to different partners and stepping outside of silos, and create the economic and social conditions to make Vermont a haven.
Michelle and Stefan. Thanks. Okay, so as Ornella said, the LAOB is an independent state board, meaning that we are a state body that does not operate within any agency. And this is who makes up our board. So these are our appointing authorities as defined in our statute. And the intention of our board is really to align with our belief and our value that those who have been most impacted by disadvantaged access to housing and land know best the barriers and challenges that they face, and therefore are best positioned to lead in creating the solutions to lead out of that inequity and that marginalization. And so the populations that Ornella referenced are all presented here through different community-based organizations that serve directly the communities that we are intended to benefit. One other thing I want to note for you all about our board is that you'll see that there are many different kinds of communities represented. And we really, this aligns also with our belief that we work best when we work across difference, and that we're able to come up with solutions that are created through dialogue. So right now, I'd like to just pause briefly in our presentation and share an invitation to you all. I'd like you to all to imagine that you all have our job. You all have a job, which is to ensure that all Vermonters are able to live, grow, and thrive here in this state, and do what we do every day, which is to imagine how will we make Vermont a haven for all Vermonters, including all of the underserved communities, to live, grow, and thrive.
So you're asking us.
I'm asking you to just take a moment and hold that prompt in your hearts
All right.
as we do. Thank you for joining us in our work. So one of the reasons that we included that slide is because we know we cannot do this work alone as two people or even as our whole board. It really takes the whole community. So community engagement is really a core of what we do, and we'll talk more to what that looks like. But remember before how we said that those who are most directly impacted are best positioned to serve in leadership. Our community engagement events, which includes activities like what we just did together, have identified that these are the barriers that are creating conditions that prevent our communities from accessing the housing and land that they deserve. I think if you read this list, you will resonate with many of these needs, and you will see many needs that your constituents share. So particularly our communities need help, coaching support, translation support, and help navigating the complex banking and legal systems that go along with accessing housing, whether that's rented housing or purchased housing, or shelter housing even, or accessing land. People need help navigating what are the programs that are out there? How do I get them? Who do I talk to? What am I supposed to say? How do I fix my credit score? People need financial assistance to bridge gaps in their current financial positions and what land and housing actually costs today in Vermont. We need down payment assistance grants. We need subsidies. People need help maintaining their homes, whether they are renters or homeowners. And we need policy systems that really support all of these needs, and recognizing that they are shared across many, many different identities in our state. Then what we do as a board is Ornella and I, as the two staff supported by our board, we take what we're learning from our community members on the ground, and we interpret that along with what do we see in our systems and institutions. So when we go to meetings, when we participate in the Act 181 study reports, what are the problems we're seeing? And I think these are probably problems that you all will see on every single slide presentation that comes into this committee room this year. Vermont needs more people power. We do not have enough families and workers and people to help lift the state's needs. We have a disconnect between the public institutions and the people that these institutions are supposed to serve. There's a lack of trust and a lack of communication. Most of all, silos prevent us from being more creative and resourceful and coming up with better solutions.
Let me ask you a question
Yes.
about silos. So we heard testimony, you mentioned, for example, down payment assistance and related support for home buying. So we heard testimony from Mara Collins, VHFA, and they have a they have a down payment assistance program. What is the relationship between your work and that program?
It's a great question, and we will speak more to it, but I'll answer
Well, if
really
you're-
quickly.
You can tell me, wait, I'll get there.
Okay, I will say, we very much believe in working with all the resources we have, and that includes working with our partners at VHFA and coming up with solutions that do not replicate, but actually fill in gaps. So we'll speak a little bit more specifically, but that's exactly the right question.
The records show that she pointed to a representative of VHFA who is sitting.
Okay, I'll speed up because I know you all want to talk. So, we have compounding crises, and this really, these last 2 points are really important for us, that the most vulnerable members of our communities are hit the hardest by all of these crises. These are the community members we serve, and that lack of effective solutions, those siloing and the lack of creativity and resourcefulness actually creates more inefficiency and costs our state more. Okay, I'm gonna hand it back to you. Now we're talking double time.
Okay. She's telling me that because I like to take my time. So how has the LAOB approached these problems? As we were trying to summarize what have been the big umbrellas of our focus this last year together, we have been working primarily on strengthening Vermont's human infrastructure, on working with our advisory powers and different collaborations to stabilize housing, and working also to improve land access. So over the last year, we started last January. We've only been around here for a year, and we hope to hire 3 support and program staff this year. And we've been building trust and confidence across communities, encouraging community members to believe their participation and leadership matters. We've been researching and identifying the most effective places for the LAOB to invest our resources. We don't have millions and millions of dollars. So with that, we wanted to make thoughtful, careful investments of our resources where it would make a difference. These are some of the examples, and I'm rushing through. These are only some of the examples of our community engagement that we can share with you all. We've done a number of conference workshops. We've participated in a number of study groups. We've also did a lot of professional development with different leaders across the state of Vermont through our Growing Roots mini conferences. We've also been networking parents and developers and VHCB into having conversations about what do individuals with developmental disabilities need as far as housing in the state, and how can we get developmentally disabled Vermonters housed. VHCB Farm Disposition Work Group, and we are planning a statewide community engagement process in collaboration with the regional planning commissions and other organizations in the state, and then a whole bunch of land access innovations and advising different system developments, and also Act 59 and 3030 Phase 2.
Yeah, so just to put one last point on that, community engagement, our community engagement really ties in with one of our statutory powers, which is our advisory powers, where we are actually entitled and empowered by our statute to advise into the agencies and institutions that impact Vermonters' housing and land access. From that, we have been written into study groups. We also insert ourselves gracefully and are sometimes often invited by these institutions to come and help them think of new solutions. And that's how community engagement and advisory powers are really tied together. LAOB is a springboard upon which our community members gain access to public policy making.
I want to add one more thing. We are also advising leaders across the systems using a lens of collaboration and resource sharing to really improve our economic thoughtfulness across systems.
So community engagement advisory powers are two of our statutory powers. Capacity building is another aspect that we work on, both because it's a priority objective and is implied in our statute. We see that our communities need more resources. Again, I think you hear this from many of your witnesses. We also see that there are a lot of opportunities out there. For example, we helped write a $13 million grant submission to EPA to fund farm worker housing. We'll see if it gets funded, but that would be a big deal. We are currently serving as an anchor organization for the state of Vermont to help our Vermonters gain access to $48 million in available grants that are available right now. The first grant deadline is February 14th. That is just for the New England states, $48 million in grants between $75,000 and $850,000 for climate relief, housing access, food access, pollution control, lead abatement. These are very wide-ranging grants, and we are serving in a position of improving our community's capacity to get that money. We believe that a big part of capacity building is breaking down those silos between us. So we actively participate in projects like the State Treasurer's Climate Resilience Roundtable and ACCD's upcoming Rural Collaboration Network Assessment Project. We really do believe that capacity building is a key to helping our communities. And then our statute also allows for us to make direct investments into communities and community members. This past year, since we as first staff were hired in January, we have made many investments into important community organizations, community centers around the state. And we are getting ready to launch this spring two really big programs. One is a housing coaches program where we are planning to hire 5 coaches around the state to really work hand in hand with individuals to help them pursue a pathway to secure housing, whether that's secure rentals or home ownership. And then a BIPOC developer technical assistance program, which we've been working to launch with VHFA, really recognizing that to get more housing, we need more developers. And we have a lot of untapped resources in our community of people who have not believed before that they could be a developer, and they're ready. So that's what that program's for. We are preparing and poised in this upcoming fiscal year to make even more direct investments through down payment assistance grants. We would like to really work with the existing down assistance grants, like what you referenced at the HFA, and also Champlain Housing Trust has one, and learn from those and expand. We would also really like to make down payment assistance grants available for land access, which is another very big issue that I'm sure many of your constituents speak to, but is not the direct purview of this committee. Okay, keep going.
So these are legislative priorities for this year. We're hoping to secure an appropriation. Last year, we were not named specifically in the governor's budget. We don't know if we will this year. We are hopeful that we will. The recently submitted report from the Act 166 study group on cannabis social equity programs recommends to allocate 25% of the cannabis excise tax to the Land Access and Opportunity Board for community reinvestment purposes. So we are hopeful. We'll see if that is something that gets written into law for us. We also are hoping to request a change on our board composition to be included in the miscellaneous board and commissions bill for this year. And we are part of 2 policy platforms, the Food Security Roadmap policy platform and the People's Demands for Just Recovery. And these are also some of the things that we're kind of keeping our eyes on. Across all policy decisions, one thing that we keep thinking about is what is the real cost to those most marginalized?
And I'll just land us here with a little bit more detail on that budget. So 25% of cannabis excise tax is projected from this past fiscal year to be 5.6 million. With that, to that, we would add a small contract that we've received as part of that anchor organization project we're working on. It's $150,000 a year for 3 years. And then we are projecting a $224,000 carry forward from this fiscal year to next. So all in all, it's a almost $6 million budget. And you can see the breakdown of how we project to use those revenues in this coming fiscal year. I'll give you this image to show you that the vast majority of that is really intended to be invested in those direct services. So those down payment assistance grants, the flexible capital for emerging developers, and support for community-led affordable housing, or just housing projects, I should say. And then the gray area is our general operating. Green supports our community engagement and advisory powers, and the gold is what we would be focusing from that anchor organization activity on our capacity building. So we'll stop there. We've got, I think, 3 minutes for questions.
Thank you for, I feel like I've been in this building for 2 years and I had not really digested what you guys are doing and all about and how you work. Just very quickly, the cannabis excise tax, that's not all of it, right? Because the whole cannabis revenue is like 25 million or something like that, right?
I think that it is probably.
So there's something
it's like
within that
20
that is-
million, and then this is 25. What is included in the report that got submitted is 25% of the full.
Right, so that makes sense, 525, yeah, okay. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of make sure that we clarified that not, because there's like after school. you know,
Absolutely, yeah.
That cannabis revenue mostly goes to after school
I think
funding
it's about
programs.
30% of the cannabis excise fund goes to prevention activities, and then there is, of course, a draw for the regulatory activities as well.
Right.
Thank you so much we're at time.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've got to close this down. Remember that this committee has an obligation a few months from now to submit a letter to the Appropriations Committee ranking our proposals for budget. So that lies ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We're here to answer any questions.
This concludes is the training part of our hearing? No,
It's not.
this concludes our hearing for today. Please note that we begin tomorrow. Wednesday is an intense day. It starts at 9 a.m. with testimonies.